Ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome the host of ADHP, Doug and Todd.
Hey everybody, this is another episode of the Attention Deficit Hyperactive Politics Podcast. That's ADHP with Doug and Todd. I'm Doug, that's Todd.
Hello.
How are you doing today, Todd?
I'm doing good. We are streaming live on my TikTok and my YouTube today, so hopefully we'll get some new listeners or people at least following me on social media. Like I've said in previous episodes, the reason why I stream it from my accounts is because I already have a little bit of a following there, and I figured might as well use that when I have it, and instead of trying to create a whole new account. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We'll take all the help we can get. Hope you're listening out there in live streaming internet land. If you are, please drop us a comment. We'll try to answer any questions, any legitimate attempts at interaction. We are happy to engage with you, so please hit us up. Also, if you're listening to this after it's been posted, leave any questions or comments on the YouTube or the TikTok feed, and we'll answer them next week.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this week is our Taco Tuesday show. You can guess what that's going to be about, but we do have some late breaking news we want to talk about, because this is sad. This is infuriating. This is exactly the kind of stuff you worry about under a Trump regime, with the wrong kind of people being emboldened. But we just found out here that Jonathon Joss, who's the voice of John Redcorn on King of the Hill, which of course is just coming back for its reboot, he was shot and killed by a homophobe.
Oh, man.
He is a gay man. He was recently married to his husband. Well, I'll just read you the statement from his husband, because it pretty much tells the whole story. And it's not, this is a trigger warning for those that need it. That this is extremely upsetting, and
yeah.
And well, here's the statement. So this is a statement from Tristan Kern de Gonzalez. He's the husband of Jonathon Joss. He says, "My husband Jonathon Joss and I were involved in a shooting while checking the mail at the site of our former upsetting. That home was burned down after only 2 years of threats from people in the area who repeatedly told us they would set it on fire. We reported these threats to law enforcement multiple times, and nothing was done. Throughout that time, we were harassed regularly by individuals who made it clear they did not accept our relationship. Much of the harassment was openly homophobic. When we returned to the site to check our mail, we discovered the skull of one of our dogs and its harness placed in clear view. This caused both of us severe emotional distress. We began yelling and crying in response to the pain of what we saw. While we were doing this, a man approached us. He started yelling violent homophobic slurs at us. He then raised a gun from his lap and fired. Jonathon and I had no weapons. We were not threatening anyone. We were grieving. We were standing side by side. When the man fired, Jonathon pushed me out of the way. He saved my life. Jonathon is my husband. He gave me more love in our time together than most people ever get. We were newlyweds. We picked Valentine's Day. We were in the process of looking for a trailer and planning our future. He was murdered by someone who could not stand the sight of two men loving each other.
Wow. I
was with him when he passed. I told him how much he was loved. To everyone who supported him, his fans, his friends, know that he valued you deeply. He saw you as family. My focus now is on protecting Jonathon's legacy and honoring the life we built together. If your concern is how someone coped with trauma or how loudly they speak when recounting injustice and being ignored by authorities, then you never truly cared about my husband. Jonathon saved my life. I will carry that forward. I will protect what he built." And that's from Tristan Kern de Gonzalez, the widower now of Jonathon Joss. This is not in any way, shape, or form how I was hoping to start Pride Month. That's for sure, Todd.
Yeah, absolutely not.
I mean,
yeah.
This was not intended to be a Pride Month episode. We'll probably be doing something like that next week or the week after.
Yeah.
But this was too big a news to put off.
Yeah.
It's sick. I don't know any other way to put it. It's just, and this is exactly the kind of thing that the Trump administration, and not just to make this a political Trump thing, but this is exactly the culture that we're empowering right now. The bigots are as much control and are platformed as much as anything. They're all empowered to the extent that they haven't been since, I don't know, the 70s. Yeah. Like it really is a revenge of the bigoted. And it makes my blood boil. I don't know what else to do about it. I mean, it is a war on people. It's a war on humanity. It's a war on love that these bigots are raging. And when the police won't do anything because they're really part of the problem in that area, right? Because they're the local police are made up of the local bigots in a lot of cases.
Right. Yeah.
And so they let it go until it becomes this. And I can only hope that this is not in vain, and it ends up leading to a resurgence in protections, in consciousness, a raising of consciousness to what the hell's been going on recently. Ever since Trump first got elected, the bigots have been blasting themselves. They've been coming out of the woodwork. They feel like they can say whatever they want. And then if you try and call them on anything, they just go, "Oh, it's just a joke. It's just jokes,
or
it's just my religion."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my First Amendment right. Comedy is legal again. And
I absolutely hate that people think they can be shitty and then they can call it comedy. That's not how comedy works, people. You don't punch down when you're doing comedy. Punching down is very much a hacky thing to do. Don't fucking do that. It's so annoying.
Punching up, you can get away with almost anything.
Right.
But when you punch down, it's almost, even when you're right, it comes off wrong.
Yeah.
So sorry to bring everybody down with that, but it literally just came through the news, and
I'll have to look.
And obviously, as we kick off Pride Month and we think about all our LGBTQ plus,
all of our
brothers and sisters and everyone in between,
me and you are absolutely allies in this case. So, some of my best friends are a part of that community. It's, every time I see somebody be that kind of evil, it boggles my mind that people can be that way and think that is acceptable and that their God is okay with that kind of thing. And it just is. It's beyond frustrating.
Right. We don't have the words for it. We really don't.
Yeah.
It's because what can you do about it? I mean, we can't go back in time and prevent this instance. And it's not like we're advocating to go out and commit violence back.
No,
so what can you actually do?
Yeah. So, well, going forward, let's go into the what's in the show notes.
Yeah, let's see if we can't cheer ourselves up a little bit with a little Taco Tuesday, aka Trump always chickens out.
And I collected as many memes as I could find, so hopefully you guys will like what you see. All the memes were handpicked from Facebook. A lot of these really make me giggle, so I that's why, yeah.
Yeah, typically we would not want to be sharing Trump's face anywhere, but in this instance we'll make an exception, and we hope it gives you a laugh. And what's even funnier, dude, I don't know if you've seen this or not, but somebody found or remembered and then went looking for it. Apparently, the last time he hosted SNL, he did a bit with the cast where he opens a taco restaurant. Or no, excuse me, not a taco restaurant, a chicken restaurant. Chicken restaurant, yes. So I saw this clip, and I honestly wasn't sure if it was AI or not. Like, that's the unfortunate side effect of the world we're living in now, is like you see an old clip where he's just standing on stage doing a bok thing, and you're like, is that real, or is it edited? Is it AI?
It's definitely not AI. I don't know if I ever watched that episode of SNL, but you can definitely tell it's not AI because the people in it look much younger, including himself. So it's I think it's from like early 2000s, like before 2010. So
yeah, that's what it looked like. That's definitely what it looked like.
But,
so to give everybody a little background here, what's going on? Coming from Newsweek, memes mocking President Donald Trump, dubbing him Taco Trump, have exploded across the internet. The term, which means Trump always chickens out, has come into the lexicon as the president has come under fire for the handling of his tariff policies.
Oh, man.
On Wednesday, CNBC's Megan Casella asked Trump about the taco trade, which has been circulating on Wall Street and was coined by Financial Times columnist Robert Armstrong. Casella asked the president, "They're saying Trump always chickens out on your tariff threats, and that's why markets are higher this week. What's your response to that?" The president fired back at Casella, accusing her of asking a nasty question. He likes that word when it comes to women. He thinks that's like the best insult he can give a woman is nasty.
Yeah.
And he demanded that she never ask it again. "Don't ever say what you said," Trump told Casella. "That's a nasty question. To me, that's the nastiest question."
Oh, man. I watched that clip multiple times yesterday and just cackled. I was so tickled by that. It was so funny.
He's so obvious when something actually hurts him. It's so I would love to play poker with Trump. I could get all his money. The term has quickly caught on with Taco Trump memes being posted across the internet. Like we mentioned, you can see several of these if you're watching the YouTube or TikTok live stream. On X, formerly Twitter, Lucas Sanders, which is an account with 33,000 followers and identifies with the Democratic Party, posted, "Hey, everyone, let's get hashtag Taco Trump trending," accompanied by a picture of a taco with the president's face superimposed on it. The post has been viewed more than 270,000 times as of this reporting.
That's too funny.
The account Canada Hates Trump, which how could they not, which has more than 160,000 followers on formerly Twitter, shared a similar meme on the platform. It included a picture with the president that has been edited so that part of his head looks like a chicken, captioned "Trump always chickens out, hashtag taco." It has been viewed more than 400,000 times as of reporting. Similar images have flooded Instagram and TikTok, with some accounts being set up under variations of the name Taco Trump. On TikTok, a video posted by the account Binary Infections shows multiple AI-generated versions of the president who has been edited to look like a chicken eating a taco, running through the New York Stock Exchange. The video has been viewed 160,000 times as of this reporting. And then lastly here, the account @CrockerBoy on X in a post viewed 55,800 times. Zero trade deals, lots of talk, lots of promises, lots of bragging, zero trade deals. And why? Because Trump always chickens out.
That's too funny.
So moving along to CNN here to give you a little bit more background of how this developed. But did you have any comment on that first part, Todd?
I wanted to say one of my favorites though is it has is a I don't know if it's AI or someone actually photoshopped him into it, but it was basically a photo of Belle, like from Beauty and the Beast, and the big yellow flowing dress, but it's made to look like a bunch of tacos, and then they put his face instead of Belle's, but it says Taco Bell, Belle.
My wife would love that one. Belle is her favorite Disney character.
Oh man, it's too funny.
So some more background on this, how this all came about from CNN. The acronym was coined in early May by a Financial Times columnist and is now used as shorthand by some on Wall Street to indicate that traders shouldn't fret too much about Trump's tariff threats, since he usually backs down. Trump's real-time response also demonstrated his view that the shorthand diminished what he sees as an essential negotiating tactic on trade. He explained on Wednesday that sometimes he sets a ridiculously high number for tariff rates and then relents if other nations give in to his demands. However, nations aren't giving in to his demands. Trump is just saying they are. In just the last week, he threatened 50% tariffs on the European Union, then extended the deadline in return for more talks. Talks. And has threatened to re-escalate his China trade war in an effort to secure compliance with last month's agreement. So not a new agreement, it's something that China already agreed to. Last month, he also imposed a 145% tariff on Chinese goods before bringing that back down to 30% for the month. And or he did so this month. And he got nothing for that. Basically, once the bond market got threatened, he said, let's cut it back. Well, we'll step away. He chickened out. It originated on a May 2nd column from Robert Armstrong, Financial Times commentator and author of the publication's popular finance newsletter, Unhedged. Armstrong coined the phrase as a way of capturing Trump's frequent willingness to walk back, pause, or provide carve-outs from his most expansive tariff threats. The idea, in short, is that Trump's threats had created a pattern of driving stocks down, only to see them surge when he changed course weeks later. So the net effect is to create a taco shell-like shape in the market graph. A steep decrease when tariffs are announced, a flat bottom as the market finds its new level, and then an equally sharp climb once the tariffs are walked back. So you get a nice taco valley shape in the graph. So Armstrong used the term to try and explain the steady upward trajectory taking place in late April, which he wrote had, quote, a lot to do with markets realizing that the U.S. administration does not have a very high tolerance for market and economic pressure and will be quick to back off when tariffs cause pain. This is the taco theory. Trump always chickens out. Within a few weeks, the taco trade had become a fixture of Wall Street chatter and started appearing in client notes from financial analysts and economists. Armstrong, and likely everyone else in the financial industry, is hoping that the taco talk doesn't result in Trump sticking to his tariffs next time, as they all believe that it's a good thing when bad policy chickens out. So that's the one thing to remember here is we do want Trump to chicken out because everything he does is awful, so it's best when he backs off his own ideas.
Right.
So what's really been happening to the markets here? We go to the Guardian for this. The S&P 500, the U.S. stock market benchmark, has actually gained about a net 1% during 2025, despite a deep slump in April after the Liberation Day tariffs had basically the worst market since 1990. The stock market rise appears to have been aided by the taco trade narrative that market turmoil will correct the president's course and allow companies to keep on making strong profits. That belief will strengthen if courts uphold Wednesday night's ruling by New York's Court of International Trade. And that ruling was that Trump's tariffs have been imposed illegally, which we've been trying to say here on the show all along. So more detail on that. A U.S. trade court ruled Donald Trump's tariff regime was illegal in a dramatic twist that could block the president's controversial global trade policy. On Thursday, an appeals court agreed to a temporary pause of that decision, pending an appeal hearing. So the Trump administration is expected to take the case to the Supreme Court. So once again, we're going to test the Supreme Court to see if they're more loyal to Trump or more loyal to the Constitution. So far, it's proven that Justice Alito, Justice Thomas, are indeed more loyal to Trump or to whoever their benefactors are that want them to be loyal to Trump. Obviously, we know Clarence Thomas has been bought by his rich investors that take him on fantastic trips and take care of his kid, his grandson, and do all these different things for him. And
of course,
Thomas through most of his career never asked a question. Now that they have a 6-3 majority, he's finally chiming in and letting his far right extremist positions come through in questions he asks. But the other 7 justices on the court have taken turns being against Trump. A lot of things he is losing on, or they'll recuse themselves so that it can only be tied. So we'll see where my guess is the Supreme Court will side with the Constitution on this one and say that Trump needs congressional authority for much, if not all, of these tariffs. But we'll see. But either way, the pattern is clear of that Trump takes a harsh initial position followed by a sizable retreat. The partial climb downs have often followed close behind slumping bond prices. This is what we've been saying. So that increases the U.S. government's borrowing costs and eventually could, if left unattended, could expose the world's largest economy, that is the U.S., if left unchecked. So just like we said, when the bond market gets threatened, that's when Trump backs down.
Yeah.
And then lastly here from The Guardian, the Liberation Day tariff announcement was followed by a 90-day pause. Trump said he would raise EU tariffs to 50% before delaying that until 9 July. He ratcheted up levies to a punitive 145% on China before dropping them to 30 during a 90-day pause. And he toyed with forcing out the Federal Reserve Chair, Jerome Powell, only to backtrack quickly once investor displeasure became clear. Again, that is just the litany of instances where Trump has chickened out. And then CNBC also recognized this, noting Ed Yardeni, president of Yardeni Research, told CNBC, Trump's style in negotiating deals is he huffs and he puffs, but he doesn't blow the house down. And Ford Asset Management's Brian Archisi says it's very difficult to build conviction-based positions when the policy direction keeps shifting. And again, that's one of the worst effects of what Trump is doing, is he's just making markets and all businesses really want is consistency. Make the rules whatever you want, but then stick to them so they can plan for the future. What Trump's doing is making it virtually impossible to plan for the future. So that's part of why this taco talk has caught on so well on Wall Street, because it's giving investors a framework to say, okay, we're just going to pretend like he's going to back down. We're just going to act accordingly like he's going to back down. The LA Times provides a good example. The market's response over the last few trading days to Trump's threat to levy a 50% tariff on imports from the EU, those were to begin on June 1st. Trump issued the threat on Friday, May 23rd. That day, the Standard & Poor's 500 index fell more than 39 points, or 0.67%, and the NASDAQ fell 188.53 points, or a full percent. 2 days later, just 2 days later, on Sunday, Trump announced that he would defer the tariff increase until July 9. On Tuesday, the first trading day following the Memorial Day holiday, stocks jumped back up. The S&P rose 118.72 points, or 2.05%, and the NASDAQ rose nearly 462 points, or 2.47%. So you see how the taco trade works? It's a two-step process. Buy the dip, the lowered prices following a Trump tariff announcement, and sell at the higher prices after Trump's inevitable chickening out pushes stocks back up. And also, if you're in there, and if you're an insider enough, you also know when the dip's going to happen, so you can sell before the tariffs are announced, then buy the dip, and then make your profits and sell again, or just keep holding. It's created this absolute field day for insider trading. Now, we don't have any evidence exactly of who may or may not be doing that, but I mean, could you really put it past these guys?
Yeah.
You also notice that the fall and rise weren't symmetrical. The strength of the recovery was greater than that of the decline. This can't be easily explained, except that it may suggest that hope is a stronger emotion than despair. And then likewise, with the Liberation Day tariffs, the stock market crashed upon Trump's announcement, with the S&P falling nearly 5% the next day and the NASDAQ down nearly 6%. It was the worst day on the market since a pandemic-triggered fall in March of 2020. On April 9, Trump did back off, announcing a 90-day pause. We've mentioned that multiple times at this point. And then that triggered a taco relief rally. The S&P gained 9.5 points, which is the third biggest one-day percentage gain since World War II. The NASDAQ went up 12.16, its second biggest one-day percentage gain ever. Neither gain brought those indexes back to where they had been on April 2nd. However, it's also true that the downdraft and updrafts have inspired suspicions that White House insiders with advance word of the announcements are trading stocks on the knowledge. So just like we were saying, this is a big concern, that this is part of this is all just a get-rich-quick scheme by manipulating the stock market. But here's the thing, though. If you held on the whole time, you've experienced a net gain. If you had insider knowledge, you were able to really get a gain by gaming the system. But there are people who can be left out of this. So say you panic sold after the big market dip. And so you sold your assets at a lower value than what they'd been the week before. Then the big gain comes back and you're a day late on that. Now you've bought back in at the higher mark. So people who weren't in the know, people that are, especially retail investors like you or I could be, they're getting absolutely screwed by this. Because you sell off when you see the disaster happening, but you needed to sell before it happened to take advantage of it, and then you're not buying back in until it comes back up. So you lost that entire rebound. So LA Times explains this: investors who stayed fully invested in the S&P through the turmoil emerged with a gain of 0.7 on the year. Those who panic sold, missing out on the recovery, ended with a year-to-date loss of 8.1%. So we're talking a nearly 9% difference in your portfolio if you were in the know or just held, versus if you tried to sell and buy with the markets, if you tried to read the market and react. And so this is also supposed to encourage investors to just rely on taco. Rely that Trump is going to chicken out and don't ever panic sell.
Yeah.
And lastly, from Yahoo's finance department, they quote Callie Cox, who's the chief market strategist at Ritholtz Wealth Management, urged investors to look beyond the tariff drama. We're going to get a lot of he loves me not, she said, referencing the back and forth on policy gains. What investors really need to be focused on is economic data, especially the jobs report coming up next week and what the Fed is doing in response to all this. Cox noted the Federal Reserve has limited ability to intervene if the economy weakens, adding, markets haven't quite processed the fact that the Fed can't step in and help us if the economy does end up weakening. So while investors are being encouraged to hold the line with this taco talk, there is the looming threat here that the on again, off again nature of the tariffs, the wild swings in the market, they could be affecting hiring rates. They could be affecting what people are willing to commit to hiring new people. If the jobs report is down because of all this, and the fundamentals of the economy are therefore weakened, and market movers are going to start responding to those fundamentals above any other tariff talk. And if the fundamentals do weaken and the market starts dropping because of it, if the economy itself weakens, let alone the market, but if the fundamentals of the economy weaken, the Fed can't just loosen up market rates or loosen up the investment rates, because that's how the Fed controls things, is by tightening or loosening rates. Basically, the better an economy does, they will make rates higher to kind of slow things down a little bit so that we aren't overgassing ourselves. And when the economy gets worse, they'll lower rates to try and help encourage loans and that kind of stuff to happen. But if the fundamentals are weakened because of all this uncertainty in the market, the Fed only can do so much. And so that is where disaster could truly strike. And people just holding the line, expecting Trump to chicken out, at that point, it might not matter if he chickens out. Yeah. Again, this is another example of Trump playing with economic fire, where he'll be fine no matter what happens, but my job could be on the line if things got too bad.
Oh, man.
So that's our Taco Tuesday. Todd, do you want any other comments on this?
No, I mean, I think you covered all of it as far as, all the important stuff. I mean, I just think all the memes were funny myself, so.
And we hope everybody finds the memes funny. And now we will take you to news of the week.
All right.
And now it's It's time for our weekly news. We're breaking down the key stories shaping our world, from policy shifts to the latest in global affairs. Let's dive in.
Oh yeah. Love that theme song. So for the news of the week, we're going to hit you with a few national stories that follow things we've talked about before, and then we're also going to hit you with some local news to Washington, as we like to try and do from time to time. So first story up for bid. Judge says Rubio, that's Secretary of State Marco Rubio, likely violated the Constitution in ordering Mahmoud Khalil deported. Mahmoud Khalil is somebody we've been following on this show. He is the student from Columbia, the recent Columbia graduate who was one of the prime organizers of their protest movement, particularly their pro-Palestine protest movement, who is a green card holder, but was detained and sent to Louisiana just because they decided his actions as a protester undermined the president and his agenda. They were a threat to America. So a federal judge this is coming from NPR. A federal judge has ruled that Secretary of State Marco Rubio likely violated the Constitution when he stripped Mahmoud Khalil of his green card and ordered him deported over his pro-Palestinian activism at Columbia University. In a lengthy, what this says, mixed ruling, U.S. District Judge Michael Farbiars, that's my gringo name, my gringo tongue can't handle these names, in New Jersey, declined for now to order Khalil released from federal immigration detention in Louisiana, where he's been held since ICE agents arrested him in New York City on March 8th. The judge said Khalil had not yet proven that his detention is causing him, quote, irreparable harm, and gave him more time to provide evidence that it is. It seems to me that, so part of the story is his wife was pregnant when he was taken. His kid has since been born and he's not able to be with his child. To me, it is absolutely irreparable harm to not be allowed that bonding time with his child. That is 100%. It's harm to him. It's harm to the child. And that to me is irreparable. You can't take back losing the first 3 months of life with your child. You can't take back losing the first 6 months or year, however long they're going to keep them here. You can't undo that damage that comes from a lack of bonding. And the judge also suggested that even if Khalil is able to prove that, the government may, for now, be justified in detaining him on a separate charge it filed in immigration court, alleging he committed fraud by failing to provide certain personal details on his application for a green card last year. So they're trying to catch him on a technicality.
Okay.
Khalil's lawyers had claimed that the charge was baseless and that the government only filed it days after his arrest as retaliation for his speech. But the judge ruled Khalil did not provide enough evidence for the First Amendment retaliation claim and denied his request to be released on those grounds. Khalil's lawyers are trying to persuade an immigration judge in Louisiana to throw out that charge. That same judge ruled last month that she had no authority to question Rubio's decision. In Wednesday's ruling, the federal judge in New Jersey said he would soon issue another order detailing the next steps in the case. In a statement issued by the ACLU, Khalil's lawyers vowed to keep fighting for his release. The State Department did not immediately respond to her request. So you got to love the U.S. justice system. Yes, it was likely that this was an unconstitutional stripping of protections, but hey, what can we do about it? We're only a judge. We're only the judicial system.
The judicial system.
Yeah. It's maddening.
Sorry, I had to do that. It's one of those things I remember hearing on a comedy bit years ago, and every time I hear those words, judicial system, I always think of that guy who couldn't say it, or he was just really drunk when he said it. So, judicial system.
Well, I swear I'm not drunk right now.
I know you're
doing
not.
a lot of talking.
I wasn't implying that at all. I was saying that's why I repeated you in that way.
I do I do have an old fashioned waiting for me when the show's over. Next story, also from NPR.
Okay.
They've tracked Americans' drug use for decades. Trump and RFK Jr. fired them. So we've talked about how mental health is an important part of this show, important part of our mission. And of course, a federal study on mental health problems and substance use across the country that has been running for decades and is used by a wide range of researchers faces an uncertain future after President Trump's cuts to the federal workforce. So what we're talking about is the National Survey on Drug Use and Health. It's an annual survey of households conducted by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Administration. And that Substance Abuse and Mental Health Administration is being dissolved by our no good, very bad health secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Of course he is.
What great work he's doing for all of us coming out of the creek filled with bacteria. I mean, literally, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Administration. Todd, do you think America has an issue with substance abuse and mental health?
Yeah, and to the point where they actually, they appointed one of their own as their leader.
Yeah, right. But yeah, it's not like America's not unusually high on the mental health and substance abuse issues charts. Oh wait, we are leading the world, and we're at least leading the developed world in substance abuse and mental health issues. So yeah, sure, let's dissolve the administration that looks into that and tries to help us with it because we're making the country healthy again, and actually doing real shit is a waste of money apparently.
Yeah.
So what they do is they survey about 70,000 people 12 and older each year. And they analyze the survey data each year, and they put out detailed reports on the prevalence of mental health problems and substance use. This is critical for people that are running data studies. They need this information to check against how things have gone year to year and over time. The fact that it's been going for decades is extremely useful, and to cut it off at any point is just deciding to give ourselves a black eye, to tie one, if not both hands behind our backs when we're trying to do other studies. In addition to a report on national estimates, her team also puts out state and sub-state estimates. It allows people to really figure out who are the people in the country that need help, where do they live, what are their issues. In a recent study published by JAMA Pediatrics, they used this data from the survey and estimated that 1 in 4 kids in the United States has a parent with a substance abuse disorder. He says this data is critical for researchers like himself, as well as lawmakers and healthcare providers, to address addiction and promote recovery. And it's really difficult to monitor progress without one of America's gold standard metrics. The same goes for efforts to address mental health problems. Unless we know how many people are affected by a common mental health problem, it will really hamper our efforts to determine whether the interventions that we're trying to implement are having any kind of effect, says Catherine Keyes, an epidemiologist at Columbia University. This is really a central piece of data, says Dr. Scott Hadland, chief of adolescent medicine at Massachusetts General Hospital. When we use it clinically, it's often in a way that is helping pediatricians across the country understand what's going on with teenagers. For example, the prevalence of opioid addiction amongst teens. We know now from the study that about 1 in 80 teenagers struggles with opioid addiction, says Hadland. That's a lot higher than any pediatrician would guess, and we only know that because of this survey. The data also reflects the success of past efforts to address substance use among young people. You look at factors like cigarette and tobacco use among young people, which is at an extraordinary low. Binge drinking and alcohol use have been declining among young people. This is coming from Catherine Keyes again. But there's still a long way to go. She adds, and if some of these trends reverse, we need to know immediately. So the idea that there's sort of a group of experts overseeing the entire survey and really looking out for its future and the reliability and validity of the questions in the survey is really critical. But of course, we're not going to have that if we eliminate the administration that conducts it. So if that information is not being disseminated out into the public, we will lose lives. We will lose lives to overdose. We will lose lives to suicide. And these are entirely preventable, says Honig. If you can't tell, I'm a little fired up about that.
A little bit, yeah. No, I mean, I'm just sitting there. I had to restart the live stream over on TikTok because it got, I don't know what happened, but we're still recording. Nothing stopped as far as the recording goes. Just the live stream had to reboot it. But since the reboot of the live stream, we've gotten a few people watching, so that's good.
Well, that's dope.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for coming in, guys.
Another story, and this will be our last national story before we get local to Washington State. And this is some potentially good news. So we haven't talked on this show a lot about Palestine and Israel, other than to talk about the protesters in America that are being detained for being pro-Palestinian.
Right.
But this is really the reason for this show initially was to kind of do a local news thing. And in the wake of Trump and everything, it's impossible to ignore the national news. So going international really is beyond the scope of this podcast, but it affects the world, and we're part of the world, so we're going to talk about this. Israel has finally accepted a U.S. proposal for a temporary Gaza ceasefire. Hamas is reportedly giving a cool response to it. This is coming from the AP. But the good news is that Israel is finally accepting a framework. Hamas officials gave the Israeli-approved draft a cool response, but they said they wanted to study the proposal more closely before giving a formal answer. Basically, Hamas is saying that it does not respond to their demands, which is stopping the war and famine. You also got to believe that Israel's not necessarily going to give in to their demands as a clause of the ceasefire, because from Israel's perspective, they're responding to an attack. Of course, from Hamas's perspective, they're responding to decades of occupation and a blockade that's been going on relentlessly since 2017, but honestly, even longer than that. The famine is a direct result of Israel stopping aid to Palestine. But Hamas had previously said it had agreed with Witkoff on a general framework of an agreement that would lead to a lasting ceasefire, which they want a full Israeli withdrawal from Gaza, which is really just adhering to international law. Israel is in violation of previous treaties and international law with their occupation of Gaza and the West Bank. But and Hamas would also like an influx of aid and a transfer of power from the military group to a politically independent committee of Palestinians. So that's something that everybody should be a no-brainer, to take the power in Palestine away from the militant group and give it to an independent committee of Palestinians. People want to act like any Palestinian, any form of Palestinian government, any Palestinian action is an action of Hamas. But we need to take that excuse away, and it needs to go to independent Palestinians.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So you can read more. We'll provide the links in the description when the podcast goes up. You can read more about what do Israel and Hamas want, and what is the the latest ceasefire proposal is this. So Witkoff has not publicized his latest proposal, but a Hamas official and an Egyptian official independently confirmed some of the details. They spoke on condition of anonymity to discuss the sensitive talks. They say it calls for a 60-day pause in fighting, guarantees of serious negotiations leading to a long-term truce, and assurances that Israel will not resume hostilities after the release of hostages, as it did in March. So we did have a ceasefire before, right? And Hamas released a bunch of hostages. Israel then broke the ceasefire and attacked Hamas, or Palestine in general, more. So Israel has broken a ceasefire before. But part of this agreement is Israeli forces would pull back to the positions they held during the last ceasefire deal. On Hamas's side, they would release 10 living hostages and a number of bodies in exchange for more than 1,100 Palestinians imprisoned by Israel, including 100 serving long sentences after being convicted of deadly attacks. Each day, Hundreds of trucks carrying food and humanitarian aid would be allowed to enter Gaza, where experts say a nearly 3-month Israeli blockade has pushed the population to the brink of famine. So it's an incredibly complex issue over there, but it's something that has to happen. The killing has to stop. The genocidal actions have to stop. And we need to create a scenario where no more attacks are going to happen against Israel, right? And the solution can't be, well, destroy all the Palestinians and then there won't be any more attacks. That's not the solution. The solution is to abide by international law, abide by past treaties, have there be a Palestinian state that is independent of itself. If they want to do a 2-state solution, that's really the only way that Palestine can exist. And right, we have to have a solution that's not genocide. That's not just, all the Palestinians get killed or displaced. That can't be the only solution. And I draw parallels to here in America, where we can either have a police state where we allow everyone to be poor and just punish them for being poor, or we can have a welfare state where we make sure people have enough, where we have a universal basic income, we have single-payer universal health care, and then people are in a position where they aren't committing crimes, right? If Palestine has a state, if it has the resources it needs to exist, there is no need for it to commit acts of violence. I mean, my personal belief is that Israel sat on a tragedy keg waiting for it to explode, because they knew once it exploded, they could hold all the cards and do whatever they wanted to Palestine, and whatever deal they got during a war would be better than whatever compromise they would have had to have made in peacetime. Like, that's why we're in this fight. That's why the Israeli-Palestinian war is going on, is because Israel believes they will have better terms in this situation than they would if the two sides were at peace. And
I want to give a shout out to Malcolm and Jade, who joined in on the on TikTok and are watching us right now. Thanks for popping in, guys.
Yeah, guys, thanks so much. Hope you stick around. We do this every week. We live record like this on Sundays or Mondays, and then the podcast goes live anywhere you get podcasts on Tuesday at midnight.
The links are on the video, the podfollow.com/ADHP pod, and then that will take you to where you can listen to the show.
Now, I hope they didn't just click on this thinking this is like some sort of Taco Tuesday show, like we're just celebrating food, and this would be quite the shock to hear what they're hearing if they were expecting some sort of party vibes and food talk. But
no, I mean, the slate show has been like, the usual stuff plus a little bit of the Taco Tuesday stuff as well. So I'm
enough.
Sure they figured it out.
Oh, and by the way, Todd, you remember we talked about stagflation the other week?
Yeah.
The Fed is forecasting stagflation. Just so you know, the Fed is forecasting stagflation. That's according to the Wall Street Journal.
Some more.
Yes, that's wonderful. Speaking of stagnant, here's some local news to the state of Washington, which is where we record from. Washington Beach ranks among top 10 most bacteria contaminated in U.S., according to a new report. This is coming from, the story's coming from mynorthwest.com. So the South Sound Thea Foss floating dock in Tacoma was found to have the 6th highest bacteria rate last year, according to a report by the Surfrider Foundation. Beaches were given percentage ratings based on how often water samples exceeded each state's health standards for bacteria in recreational water. So it's recreational water. This is water people are allowed to swim in. The Foss floating dock garnered for now. Or, this is just getting RFK Jr. excited. He's planning a trip here now to take a dip.
Of course.
But the Tacoma's Foss floating dock garnered a 64%. Again, that was 6th highest. Now, fortunately, it's nowhere near the highest Do you have any guess where the highest contaminated water in the country might be, Todd?
That would be what is the creek that RFK Jr. swam in, Alex?
Rock Creek. So no, this is for recreational waters. This is for places you're actually allowed to swim.
Okay.
So Rock Creek doesn't fall on this list.
Okay. I have no idea. Probably someplace in the East Coast.
It actually surprises me. Like I would have guessed something like in New Jersey or something like that, right? Shout out to New Jersey. But no, it's actually a beach in Hawaii, the Kahaluu in Oahu, with 92%. Again, 64% in Tacoma is the sixth highest. But number one in Hawaii is 92%. That's got to be just because of all the people that are going and getting in it. I got to think.
Yeah, probably.
Because you got the Pacific Ocean there. It's not like you're a little arm of the Puget Sound. You're a whole freaking ocean that should be clearing that stuff out. But the other beaches on the list were a stream at Kaloa Landing in Kauai, Hawaii, Parkview Kayak Launch in Miami Beach, Imperial Beach in San Diego, Lindamar Beach in Pacifica, California, Ballard Park, which is not in America in our Ballard. It's Ballard Park in Melbourne, Florida. This is a double head fake. So it's Ballard Park. I'm like, oh, Ballard, Washington? No, in Melbourne. Oh, Australia? No, Florida.
There's a Melbourne in Florida? Of course there is.
There's everything in Florida, man. And then they also have Windmill Beach in Sag Harbor, New York, San Luis Creek Mouth in Avila Beach, California, and Playa Crash Boat in Aguadilla, Puerto Rico. And so shout out to New Jersey. You stayed off the list completely. That's my fault. I should have kept your name out my mouth. It turns out it's mostly California, Miami, and Hawaii that has bacterially infected recreational water. You don't want the ladies
from Jersey Shore coming to your doorway and wanting to beat your ass.
No, I especially do not want those ladies, no. And then one more story from local to Washington, and this is just so I did one story about some gross stuff in Washington, so now I want to do another story on something beautiful in my state. This one's personal to me. I am a graduate of the University of Washington, and Washington has one of the most beautiful college campuses in the country, according to a ranking of the 25 most beautiful college campuses.
I mean, I didn't go to UW, but I'm a Husky a fan as much as anybody else in Western Washington. I was told back in high school that our school colors from Issaquah were given to us because our school didn't have a football team until much later after the school opened. But they were gifted previous year's uniforms from the UW. And that's how Issaquah got the colors of purple and gold.
Oh, that's crazy. I did not know that. I knew they were purple and gold. My high school. So Todd and I did not grow up together.
No.
But we have recently learned that we went to rival high schools a decade apart. But I went to Liberty High School, which our school colors are actually, we're the Liberty Patriots. Our school colors were going to be red, white, and blue. But our school opened the same year as the Seahawks' first season. So silver and so blue. They made our school colors silver, green, and blue,
that's
like
right,
the Seahawks.
Yeah.
So that's funny. That's hilarious that Issaquah, my rival, got UW colors, and my school got Seahawk colors.
So when I was in elementary school, and my sister was 6 years older than me. So actually, I was probably in middle school by the time she was in Liberty High School. But I lived very close to Liberty High School up until I went to middle school. And I used to ride my bike over to the school with my buddies, and we used to go ride our bikes around the track. And
there you go. Nice. We used to ride our bikes to the Dairy Queen. I've always been a fat kid.
Yeah, and she worked. She probably worked there when you went there. Yeah, she worked there back in the '80s. So yeah, that Dairy Queen.
You worked at the Dairy Queen.
And that Dairy Queen is probably the only thing on that part of the street that's still there since the '80s. Everything else.
Yeah, because this place it used to be all farmland up here.
It was all farmland, and across the street from Dairy Queen was like an old. I think it was it might have been. It was a bank, and I'm trying to remember the bank. I think it might have been Well, now it's called Bank of America, but it was whatever the local bank
It was like
was.
a U.S. bank that used to be up there.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. It was. Yeah, that's right. It's now U.S. Bank, or it was U.S. Bank until that building got tore down, and they put in a strip mall with a QFC and a Papa John's and whatever else.
Well, Bartels apparently is going out of business.
Oh, I didn't know that. And now I've
heard something about this. Yeah. But the destination brand Travel and Leisure ranked the University of Washington as having the 10th most attractive campus in the country. And I would argue that that's underrated. But we beat out schools such as Princeton, Yale, and Vanderbilt. So suck it, Ivy League. Suck it, Tennessee. Of course, the Husky Stadium at the University of Washington is regarded as the greatest setting in college football, which it absolutely is. I mean, we should have thrown a few photos of UW into the slideshow,
right?
Just because there were some photos taken on Friday. We had a beautiful day out here Friday, and it's these. I don't know if they're from an airplane or from a drone, but they're these high angle up in the sky shots. You get the stadium, what I love about our areas is like you get the stadium, you get water around the stadium, then you get another strip of land, then you get more water, then you get a little more land, then you get more water. There's just these layers of land and water and land and water. You look at any other major urban center in most of America, and it's just urban sprawl. There's no green, there's no blue, it's just urban sprawl. And maybe dead vegetation, brown vegetation. But here we are the Emerald State. We wear it proudly. Yeah. And I honestly, again, I may have mentioned this on the podcast before, but if I've said it before, I'll probably say it again. It's my favorite quote from my cousin who moved to Vermont to chase a woman. He was there for about 6 months, came back, and he just said, I don't understand why everyone in the world doesn't live here. Meaning the greater Seattle area, Western Washington. For my money, it's the greatest place in the world. We don't have to worry about any kind of poisonous creatures. It never gets too hot. It never gets too cold. And it's always beautiful out.
And here's a little bit of trivia for you. And you probably know this, Doug, but I bet everybody else listening or watching doesn't. That the origins of the wave you see at like most sporting events originated at the UW. So at the UW Stadium.
We claim the wave. Yeah, birthed the Husky Stadium. We claim it absolutely. It started before my time. Yeah, it started before my time, but I participated in a wave or two.
Oh, I did too. Anytime I went to a sporting event, that's something we would do, and my sister, who actually, even though she's Republican, she went to UW. And she told me that. She's like, yeah, it originated at the UW, at the Husky football games, But it became a huge thing because he started doing it at the Seahawks games because, everybody who loves college football also likes the NFL. They started doing it at the Kingdom, and it became a massive thing at the Kingdom. And then they started doing it everywhere else because people would see us doing it during our games, and now it's fucking everywhere.
Yeah, no, and other places have tried to claim the wave, but the true wave, as it's done today, was done for the first time at the University of Washington. We used to have our cheerleading squad used to have a cheer. I don't know what he's a cheerleader, but he wasn't like one of the acrobatic cheerleaders. He was basically a PR guy that got a microphone and an amp, and he would actually get the fans riled up, almost like the host of a comedy show. And he's the one who got the fans to do it.
Like the guy who does crowd work before a talk show.
Yeah, it's like a warm-up guy, but he would do it actively during the game.
Yeah, and we
do have the full top 10 list here.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to derail it. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I want you to derail it wherever you have something you want to bring up. I do want you to derail us. That's your job. Derail me as much as possible. Okay. That was an excellent derailment. It was
one of those things I remember as a kid seeing. I probably saw that guy. I remember there being somebody like walking along the walkways in between the sections of seating with a blowhorn saying, "All right, everybody, get ready," And when you see everybody next to you standing up, stand up right after them, and then sit back down after them, and it would go around the entire stadium. It wasn't, because you know how not every stadium goes all the way around. It's not a 360-degree like stadium seating. Some of them would go only halfway or 3/4 or whatever, and then would come back. But this would go all the way around at least 2 or 3 times before they'd stop.
Yeah, and it was Rob Weller was the guy who did it. Right. And it literally started on Halloween of 1981. That was the first time.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So a little trick and treat for the world from your friends at Husky Stadium.
Go
Dogs. Of course, I'm a season ticket holder since I was 9 years old. So I'll be headed to my 22nd season.
Oh wow!
This year in the fall. Can't wait. In fact, they actually they just announced that a game got moved to Friday night on October 10th, which is going to be my 40th birthday. So I will get to celebrate my 40th birthday at Husky Stadium with the world's largest over the hill party.
And yeah, you're gonna probably like celebrate with like some football food. You know, do they have similar types of food at the Husky games that they do for the Seahawks?
They have some crazy new food now since they revitalized the stadium. They've got calzones, and you've got your Ivers, you got fish and chips, you got Kid Valley burgers. Nice. Yeah, they got lots of. I think you can. If you go to certain areas, if you go to the more upscale Husky, I can't remember what they call it. I don't ever get to go there, but there's a more premium section where they sell like sushi and that kind of stuff too. So, all right, so we got 2 more stories to go before we get to What's Geek this week. Feel like we might be running a little long, so
that's fine.
I'll try and speed this up a little, but
you don't have to speed it up. Do what you gotta do.
I do like this story. These are stories that Todd added, and I think this one in particular is, as a former punk rock kid, this one warms my heart. Guy wears Nazi shirt. This is coming from ComicSans.com. Guy wears Nazi shirt to punk rock festival in Vegas, and it goes immediately south for him. This link is leading to an article on ComicSans.com, tells the story of an individual who attended a punk rock festival in Las Vegas while wearing a shirt displaying Nazi imagery. The article describes how this act was met with immediate and negative reactions from other attendees. It likely details the confrontations and consequences the person faced for their choice of clothing, highlighting the strong disapproval and rejection of hate symbols within the punk rock community and the public in general. So you definitely want to check out that story.
Oh, dude.
It's.
I saw the video of the guy. It shows like 2 or 3 people like yelling at him and pushing him and stuff. And then somebody actually popped him really good, and he fell to the ground. And then he got back up and then continued to back up and kept backing up until he was out in the parking lot.
That's how you got to handle those people. You can't allow a Nazi in, because once one Nazi gets in, he invites his Nazi friends, and once his Nazi friends show up, now it's a Nazi party, and that's the rep it's going to have. And punks have to be very, the reason there's a history of anti-Nazi behavior, specifically in the punk community, is because a lot of punks are shaved heads or leather. They if you didn't know better, you might conflate them for a Nazi in one way or another. So they have to be vocally and clearly anti-Nazi.
There is absolutely a difference between a Nazi skinhead and a normal skinhead. Skinheads by default are not Nazis, and every skinhead I've ever met in my life will tell you that straight to your face, and if you argue with them, they will let you know how they feel about that.
Yeah, and maybe you know more about this than I do, Todd, but my understanding is the original skinhead movement is coming from like an Irish punk scene, basically.
I don't know about Irish, but it was definitely a European thing. It was definitely a UK thing. And there might be some Irish things and Irish elements in there, but I think for the most part it came from England. And because of the neo-Nazis of the 80s, the regular skinheads started a movement called Sharps, Skinheads Against, I now can't remember it now. But either way, it's basically they're against Nazis and fascism.
All the racists and
yeah. So yeah.
And speaking of now, of course, we saw this content. Did you see this on Facebook originally? I definitely saw stuff about it on Facebook, and it may have something to do with the fact that Facebook seems to be pushing violent content, and we certainly are seeing more a rise in violent content and harassment after Facebook changed its policies, right? Because Facebook used to actually have a fact-checking arm.
Yeah.
And now they've opted for the community note version, which doesn't really do anything other than add context. So this article from Engadget.com reports on how Facebook has experienced an increase in violent content and harassment following recent changes to its policies. The article likely discusses the specifics of these policy changes, how they may have contributed to the rise in harmful content, and the potential implications for users and the platform itself. It also covers any responses or actions being taken by Facebook to address these issues and mitigate the spread of violent and harassing material. So that's an article you can find in our links, as you can with everything else on here. But basically, Facebook wants engagement, and it's learned that violent and hateful comments tend to keep people engaged. If something pisses you off and you respond to it, well, you're engaged with the platform, and they'll take the engagement any way they can in this day of social media wars, as it is. Did you have any other thoughts on that one, Todd?
I saw the story and I figured it was something that we would absolutely have some thoughts about. And I from when I first saw that they were getting rid of the fact checking, I was like, oh, this is not going to end well. And as far as like the notes, basically it's not even like, hey, just so you know, this information's incorrect. Anybody can leave a note saying, well, that's bullshit. You can't say that. And it's not helpful.
Yeah. So that is absolutely true. It's just, it's accelerating our path down the idiocracy path. It's accelerating our transversing of the idiocracy path. We're just closer and closer to becoming Idiocracy, the film.
The documentary.
And I mean, to me, the only inaccurate part of that entire Idiocracy film is the fact that it's set in the year in the 26th century. Like, it's set 500 years in the future.
Yeah.
It's too far. It's too far. We're going to be there in 30.
Long. Yeah.
So, speaking of Idiocracy. That's one of my favorite little geeky movies. What else is geek this week, Todd?
I'll tell you.
Welcome to What's Geek this week. We're going over the coolest in pop culture, tech, and nerdy news. Let's dive in.
All right, so yeah, we have. I had picked out a few stories here. Let me get that pulled up real quick because I have other windows open. Let's see here. We got. Scrolling.
Scrolling.
Here it is. Okay, so Nathan Fillion, the guy from Castle and Firefly and Rookies.
Of course, my favorite Nathan Fillion thing is Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog.
I don't know if I've watched an entire episode of that. I think I've seen clips of it, and it was really funny. I think it's probably the only thing that Joss Whedon has done that was his that I think is funny.
It's the only thing that gets, it's the best thing Joss has done, for sure.
So, but yeah, he apparently has based his character attributes off of somebody of course, now that I'm trying to find it here. I had it written out, and of course, I can't fucking read this shit.
It's Ted Knight.
Ted Knight, that's right. Thank you. Ah, man. I did this on purpose. I had this shit written out on purpose so I could find it and read it. And of course, as soon as I go to read it, I can't seem to find it. I should just leave it to the description that I used to have. Either way, so Ted Knight, who was like the voiceover announcer for the Super Friends. Meanwhile, back at the podcast kind of thing. And I'm looking forward to seeing his version of the Green Lantern with the bowl cut.
He looks like such a doofus. It's hilarious.
I mean, he really does. And I really wanted to meet him at Emerald City Comic Con this year because he was here, but the line was down the hallway and out the door, and I didn't want to spend the rest of the day standing in line just to say, hi, I like your show, and not have any money to buy anything. So I just went home. But yeah, no, I think it's awesome that that's the character choices he's making. See here, what is this? See, inspiration from the oldest cast member from the Golden Girls, where she just, whatever she wanted to say, actually doesn't look like it was Ted Knight. It sounds like it's Estelle Getty. Says, thank you, Estelle Getty. Thank you. Just whatever it was, there it is. He's going to say it. Part of his origin was that he, at one point, was hit by a bus and was in a coma. So just say that's the thing that flipped the switch. That's what caused a little bit of brain damage. And now he's just a little bit off, Fillion said. So I don't know where Ted Knight came from, but yeah, according to the article, that's what I get for using AI to write a summary for me. Don't do it, folks. Or at least not using Google's AI. But yeah, no, I mean, see, the thing is now I'm going to watch the movie and picture him as the little mom of Dorothy. So that's funny. That's really funny. All right, what else do we got here? The next story is...
I'm so interested where the AI thought this, because the AI summary straight up says he based aspects of his Superman voice and mannerisms on Ted Knight.
Yeah.
And there's nothing of that mentioned anywhere in the article.
Yeah, so ignore what the summary says and click the article link if you want to know. The next one is about the Harry Potter cast of the TV show. And I'm gonna say this: I don't support anything that the woman who created Harry Potter has ever said or done. J.K. Rowling. I couldn't care even more to think about what her name was. So, but
fair enough.
I mean, these kids are gonna forever be associated with her, and there's gonna be a lot of hate thrown at them because of it. And it's unfortunate because despite her being a garbage human being and not a nice person in general, the stories themselves are entertaining. I enjoyed the movies when they're in theaters. I don't own any Harry Potter memorabilia, so it's not like I have spent a lot of money on it. The few times I've seen those movies was paid by other people. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I managed to stay away from the whole Harry Potter thing. For like, I had friends in school that were reading the books, and I would be very smug about it. I was just like, I am not a child. I'm not reading this book. Like, for me.
And to be honest, I kind of felt the same way initially, and then I reluctantly went and saw one of the movies in theaters with the family. And I was like, oh, wow, this is a really cool story. I like it. And I actually really enjoyed all the movies. But, you know, it's, I don't know. I'm of the mind of the people who say you can separate the art from the person, because there's other people involved with that art, and you can focus on those things, you know.
Especially the movies, because sure, she makes money off the licensing, but she's not the creator of the films.
No, yeah. She
in fact, the first one or two is Chris Columbus, right? The guy who did Home Alone and Mrs. Doubtfire. And
you know, it's so I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing at least the first episode, and then I'll kind of go from there. I'm sure I'll watch the entire series, but I'm not. I don't support her or what she has said about the trans community. I don't agree with it at all. But I do like.
No, she can fuck off with those remarks she's made.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. All right. So
My wife, on the other hand, is a huge Harry Potter fan, so I'm sure it's going to get shown in this house.
When I went down to Southern California for my 50th birthday, we did go to Universal on one of the days we were there, and I really wanted to ride the rides for Harry Potter, but I was too fluffy for those rides, and they're not meant for large mammals. But I did.
Yeah, that's one of my biggest issues with theme parks is I'm a little too big for them.
Yeah, it's like, it's not like you can put in inserts to make yourself taller when it comes to being,
Get some Spanx. Get some of those Mel Spanx. Suck it in.
How many clicks on the ride like Fluffy did? When I click
yes.
1, click 2, click 3, click. But yeah.
Coming to you live from Six Flags, where 2 large Latinos did not make the loop.
Oh man. Anyways, back to the podcast. The next story I have here is Phineas and Ferb cast talk about returning to the series after 10 years. I actually saw a video yesterday of the cast singing some of the songs that they're known for doing on the show, live at Disneyland. And I was like, man, I wish I was there. This would have been so cool. So
this is another show that I've only been reintroduced to as an adult, thanks to my wife, because she loves this show, so she shows it to the kids. So we end up watching it during dinner or breakfast on occasion. I discovered the show on its last season, so I was really bummed when it ended, and it was like, oh, this is like a. I looked at it. I saw it as like a modern take on like the R Gang or Little Rascals. Where just, hey, what are we going to do? It's this summer vacation. What are we going to do? And so it was cute, and I thought it was entertaining, and it had little song and dance numbers that were always fun and entertaining and very funny. And it's a smart show.
It's a very smart show, and one of the things that I really liked about it was like all the guest stars they had on the show were like people you would not assume would make an appearance on a children's show. Like, yeah, that's always a mark of a good show, is when it's like you've got famous people wanting to be a part of it. Right. And the characters they play on the show are like in kind of reminiscent of a character they're known for earlier in their career, or something they're really known for, regardless of how long they've been doing it. The thing that like blew my mind was that the dad on Phineas and Ferb is Richard O'Brien.
You'll have to tell me who that name does not ring a bell for
Richard
me.
O'Brien is the guy who created and starred in the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh.
Yes. Riff Raff.
Oh, see, I've only seen Rocky Horror once.
Yeah. I've only gone and seen it with the cast of people once or twice, but I've watched it a number of times over the years. I usually watch it during Halloween. Is one of those things I do.
It's a good time. Yeah.
So, but this article talks about, them coming back after 10 years. And in fact, if you haven't seen it yet, go to the Phineas and Ferb. No, it's not Phineas and Ferb's channel. It's Disney's YouTube channel has the first episode available. You can watch it now, or at least part of it anyway. I mean, it may not be the whole episode, but it's all there, I think. But it is coming in August. It's coming back. What is it, August? Fuck. I'm having an ADHD day, guys. I'm sorry. It is coming back.
That's what we're all about here.
Season 5 premieres on Disney Channel on June 5th and on Disney Plus on June 6th, the next day. So it comes back in June. So like next week, or actually in like 3 days.
Yeah, there you go.
So
and something I've always, something not always, but something that has occurred to me as I've gone back now and I'm watching Phineas and Ferb as an adult, I'm realizing that Rick and Morty is like Phineas and Ferb for adults. Like that really has a similar vibe to me.
If you were to take Phineas and Ferb and kind of mix in a little bit of like Back to the Future and Beavis and Butthead, then yeah. Yeah. No, I actually like those shows too. All right. The King of the Hill revival, as we've already mentioned, and lost another cast member.
Yeah.
But on top
Devastating news about that, yeah.
That's coming back. It's going to be on Hulu. And let's see here. It is going to be on August 4th. So a couple more months, right?
And I'm assuming that John Redcorn, who, Jonathon Joss was the voice of, probably already recorded some parts, so I'm hoping we get to see that character again.
I think, yes, he is. He comes back as John Redcorn, and I think he's in multiple episodes. I don't know if he's in the entire season, but he is the only person voicing that character in this season. If they get another season, they'll probably have to find somebody else to replace him, or they will...
they'll do something with the character to honor him.
His character will go to a farm upstate on the show. Sorry, folks. That was a terrible joke, but it's kind of how I deal with
we're in mourning over this, where we give us a little space.
I make terrible jokes, and it's not indicative of how I feel.
To hide the tears.
Exactly. But I saw there's a clip on the internet of like a trailer of just clips of the show of this next season, and it's not a reboot, folks. It is a revival. It's a continuation of the original series. So the characters of actors who have passed away are going to be talked about, but you will not see them. You will not hear them, and that's the only thing I know about those characters. Like Luann and her boyfriend or husband or whatever his name was, I can't remember. But the actors that played them have both passed since the show went off air. And
I'm looking forward to this revival because I was, for whatever reason, I wasn't a King of the Hill fan when it was on.
Oh, I was.
Maybe I was just too young. I wanted something more like The Simpsons.
Right.
And King of the Hill wasn't that for me. But as I've gotten older, once I got into my 30s, especially now that I'm married and have 2 kids, I catch an old episode and I appreciate it so much more.
You mean to tell me you've never been like, that's my purse, I don't know you?
Nope, I don't know. I don't know the reference.
So
the only things I know are like, God damn it, Bobby.
God damn it, Bobby.
And propane accessories.
I like propane and propane accessories.
You do that way better.
I'm a massive Mike Judge fan, and I mimic a lot of his characters. But Bobby apparently has become a chef, and he does Japanese food, and it's specifically Japanese food that is cooked on an open flame using charcoal.
Oh no!
So no. Hank is going to have a massive problem with this. That's the one thing. That's the only thing really that I know about the show going forward, and. They did say that the actor who played Dale Gribble, he recorded I think 3 episodes before he passed away, and the actor Toby Huss will take over the voice of Dale beyond those episodes that Mr. Hardwick had recorded, and I'm trying to remember his first name. Doesn't say his name at all in this article.
You're not talking about Chris Hardwick, are you?
No, different Hardwick entirely. Let's see here. Continue without, and I don't really care. Stop with the pop-ups. It's even spelled differently. Johnny Hardwick is the guy's name. It says the cast of the series includes Mike Judge, Kathleen and Jimmy, Pam Adlon, and the late Johnny Hardwick, Stephen Root, Lauren Tom, and Toby Huss. And I think Toby is the one who plays Khan Sr.
Okay.
And it comes out on August 4th, and all 10 episodes all at once. So you won't have to wait weekly to watch the entire next season of King of the Hill. I was a massive fan of the show because it was from the creator of Beavis and Butthead, and I loved Beavis and Butthead. And I
was not allowed to watch Beavis and Butthead. And by the time I got old enough where I could have watched wherever I want, Beavis and Butthead was over. Like the first Beavis and Butthead thing I really saw was the movie, Do America.
Oh yeah. The Slave Scissors sluts in Vegas. I love that.
I remember the soundtrack to that was killer.
Oh, I have that sound. I bought that soundtrack on CD and on MP3 at some point. So yeah. So 13 episodes. King of the Hill originally ran for 13 seasons and over 250 episodes.
It's more than 13 episodes.
13 seasons and over 250 episodes on Fox from 97 to 2009. There have been discussions about reviving the show at Fox all the way back to 2017, but that was prior to 21st Century Fox and Disney's merger, in which Disney acquired 20th Century Television and many other assets, but not the broadcast network. The show marked the first collaboration between Mike Judge and Daniels, but the two reunited recently to from Bandera reviving King of the Hill. I don't know what any of that means. It doesn't make those words don't mean anything to me. I don't know what that reunited.
Me no words together understand.
Words are hard. And was among the top priorities for the company, while they have also set up projects from various outlets. Blah 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 blah. I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. It's sad to think that some of the characters are not going to be there because the actors who played them are no longer with us, but I'm glad they decided to say, so-and-so went to college, or so-and-so, they're living in another city and this is what they're doing. I would much rather them do that than try to
recast it.
Because sometimes recasting works and other times it doesn't, and more often than not, at least in recent years that I've noticed, the character voices are similar, but not enough for me to believe that it's the same person. You know what I mean?
It was like Dr. Hubbard on The Simpsons is a completely different voice now.
I mean, Dr. Hubbard is Kevin Michael Richardson. So, and I don't know. To me, it sounded the same, but I don't know. I met Kevin. He's a really cool guy. He's done so many other voices. But he's best known for being the white neighbor on the Cleveland show, the redneck.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is funny in itself. But where was I going with that? I just lost my train of thought. Shit.
Now who's derailing who?
Let's go into the next story because I completely forgot what I was saying and lost that train of thought. Boom, there goes the train. Mark Hamill reveals why he won't return to Star Wars 10. Okay, let's see what it says here, because I don't trust the AI summary now. Okay, Rey's journey, played by Daisy Ridley, in the Star Wars galaxy is set to continue with the upcoming movie New Jedi Order, but fans shouldn't expect to see her mentor Luke Skywalker, played by Mark Hamill, in an interview with comicbook.com to promote his new movie, The Life of Chuck, which opens in select theaters June 6th and nationwide June 13th. Hamill was asked if he would return as Luke's Force Ghost in New Jedi Order. Though the actor is forever grateful he played such a meaningful role in the Star Wars franchise, he believes it is time for Lucasfilm to move past the legacy characters and focus entirely on the younger generation. What do you think of that, Doug?
I don't like the way they used Luke in the sequel trilogy. Yeah. I thought it was a disservice to his original story arc. I thought they made him act. I'm a total Last Jedi hater. I hated the way they did that. Just subversion, just for the sake of subversion, is not anything to applaud in my book. I disliked it to the point where I didn't even watch The Rise of Skywalker.
Honestly, I will say this. Knowing how much most people dislike The Last Jedi, a lot of people felt that way. I, however, really love the Rise of Skywalker for a lot of reasons, but the main reason is I think it really shows Leia more than we have in previous movies, even though she was barely in it because she passed, like, I don't know if it was midway through.
She passed before The Last Jedi ended, I thought.
Yeah. So they used a lot of footage that wasn't used in The Last Jedi for The Rise of Skywalker. Now, the reason why I really like this movie is because I believe, and I this is my headcanon, as they say, that the fight at the end of the movie, not to give any spoilers, folks, but I'm going to talk about it, so be sure to forget before you watch the movie. I believe that when Leia, the character, passes, and she disappears like every other Force-wielding person does, that Ben also disappears at the same time, that what we thought was Ben was actually her helping Rey in her last in the final battle of the movie. And once I realized that, I had to go back and rewatch the entire movie, because it's like, okay, when did this become a thing? When did he become his mom and his mom become him? And so
it's an interesting theory.
Yeah, and if you watch, and I recommend you actually watch it at least once. That way you can say I've seen it and I either like it or I don't like it. I actually think it's in my top 3 as far as Star Wars movies goes. This will absolutely bump Empire and Jedi if I have to pick anything else. So,
you're saying Rise of Skywalker bumps Empire and Jedi for you?
Yes. It does. Wow. I really liked it. I really liked it.
And you're not just a casual. You are, like, Star Wars is your...
That's my primary fandom.
Thing.
Yeah. It's
that's a big statement.
It's the thing that turned the nerd switch on me. So it's what made me like an uber nerd. I had all the toys growing up. I loved everything that came out that was Star Wars. Even the prequels initially, I liked them, but as I heard people's complaints about them, I can see that. I understand it. I still am entertained by them, but they're not my favorite. So, but yeah, I think that, I as much as I would love to have seen the original 3 together again, fighting the Empire, we didn't get that in those movies. As much as I wanted to see Luke, Leia, and Han and Chewbacca all together in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon. Sorry. We didn't get that. We got 2 of the 4 in the cockpit, which in itself was cool. And that's part of the reason why I'm getting choked up, because that scene where they get on the Millennium Falcon for the first time in decades is like, we're home. And I lost it. The people I was with are like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Oh my God, I didn't realize how much I missed seeing these people on the deck of that ship until this happened." And it was, and a lot of people shat on the Force Awakens. It's just a recycled version of A New Hope. I was like, okay, that's probably why I like it, because it reminds me of the original movie. And I'll never call that movie A New Hope, ever. It will always be Star Wars.
I like The Force Awakens. I was excited after that's part of the reason I hated The Last Jedi so much, is after The Force Awakens, I was like, okay, cool. This is Star Wars again, more so than the prequels. This really feels like Star Wars again, even though it kind of felt like Star Wars The Ride. Like, it was just kind of like a tour of the Star Wars mythos. Right. I was still excited for what it was setting up. And I got into, it's one of the things that really got me into like doing the YouTube breakdown and theory videos. Like, I was into all the different theories, excuse me, that people had for The Last Jedi. And like, I was like, oh, which way is it going to go? Who's right? Who's not right? Who is on the right track? What are they going to do with this? And then Rian Johnson was going to be directing it. And I'm like, oh, he's freaking an awesome director. He did some of the best episodes of Breaking Bad. My hopes got so high for The Last Jedi. And it looked great. It looked amazing. And then they decided to just like make a really awesome thing and then just destroy it.
Yeah.
Like, what's the most shocking thing we can do? Oh, let's destroy it. Let's subvert everything for subversion's sake. I went with a group of friends, and like 20 to 30, like at some point during the first act of the movie, I turned to my row and I was like, is this the parody version? Like, did we accidentally get the parody version of this movie? Like, this can't be the real movie.
Right. I didn't really care for that one. I mean, it was still Star Wars to me because it had key characters in it. But it felt like, you know what? Because people shat on the last one, we're going to change things up a bit. And I was like, no, no. You shouldn't have done that.
And I liked the new characters. I liked Rey. I liked
Finn.
What's John Boyega's character? It's a FN197 or something
Finn.
like that. Finn. Yeah, I like Finn. I like those characters, and then they don't really do anything with Finn. They just ask he becomes the B plot and throwaway.
He becomes Butters from South Park.
Yeah, that's so true.
He's there and he says his catchphrases once in a while, and he shows up when the battle is happening, but then quickly disappears when other things are going on. I was excited to see where his character went because I liked his character. He was like I was forced into this shit. I don't want anything to do with it, and I'm going to join you guys because you guys seem like you're sane. That's kind of how I saw his character. And the way he was dealing with everybody around him. And some of my favorite lines have been from him in those movies because he has some of the funniest lines. And so like in there's a line in the Rise of Skywalker. He goes, "I forgot to tell you," and then something happens and everyone gets interrupted with what they're saying or they're doing. And he never finishes that sentence. You're like, what were you gonna tell her, dude? What was happening? So
how Palpatine returned. That's what he was going to say.
Well, it was recently posted, like in the last week, even in light of the new movies coming out. That potentially he might be in them, and that we might see what he was referring to in that part of the movie, because it was mentioned one time in the movie and was not brought up again throughout the rest of the movie. So he was basically saying, I got something to tell you, I need you to know this is important. And then, they were like in the sinking field is I think what they called it. It was basically like quicksand, but it wasn't quicksand. And I thought they were all going to die. So he said, I need to tell you this thing that I needed to tell you. And as he was trying to tell her, they all fell through, and they all survived it. But so apparently they're gonna like what he was gonna tell her was that he is also force sensitive, and that he's gonna go into training to become a Jedi. That's what I heard. I don't know if that's true. I hope that's true, because we do see him use a lightsaber in one of the movies.
I was gonna say there is that's kind of a retcon, because there's the scene where he temporarily uses a lightsaber, not particularly well, but the fact that he can control it at all is supposed to be
the fact that he was able to do a force pull and grab it says something about his force abilities, And I don't know. I'm turning the volume up a little bit. That's better. It's just I'm looking forward to the next set of movies. I don't care if we see any more of Luke, although I have also seen other people saying that Sebastian Stan
should play Luke.
Should play a younger version of Luke, and in like at the very least, have him play that character in the next season of Ahsoka or any other Star Wars content that happens in that time frame and on that timeline.
I would love to see Luke, like the saga of Luke, of stuff he did between Jedi and
Force Awakens.
That's what
I'm thinking. I would love for them to do that and have Sebastian be the young Luke.
Yeah, and don't try and digitally alter him to have Mark Hamill's face. Just go with it.
Just go with what he's
close enough.
He already looks like he could be like one of Mark's kids. you know? So All right.
We ready to get in some weird shit? I'm excited about this. We got some really weird shit, including some literal shit in the weird shit. So
that's the reason why I grabbed that story. Here we go.
And that's some weird shit. Where we dig up the craziest, quirky stories and make you go, what the heck just happened? Buckle up, it's about to get weird.
All right. Sorry, we babbled a bit too long about Star Wars, but you know what? That's okay. I like Star Wars, and it's all right. So,
we're going long tonight. I love it. I love it. More content for the masses.
Yes.
Do we still have our viewers on TikTok?
We don't currently have anybody viewing, but we did have a few people pop in and say hi, and I wasn't looking at that screen, so I didn't respond. So I apologize if you're listening now and and I didn't say anything. So we appreciate the people that were watching over on TikTok, on my TikTok account, and if you've gotten this far, please go follow me on TikTok and on YouTube, and then you'll see all the videos of the slideshow, basically, of what we've been talking about.
Todd ADHD Rocks on YouTube. Is it the same on TikTok?
It is Todd.ADHD.rocks on TikTok. But if you just type in Todd ADHD Rocks, you'll find me. So the first story I have here, this is the one I found this story like literally right after we recorded last week. And basically it's this guy in Oregon who has discovered a way to turn like recycled plastic into diesel fuel. And there's videos on his website, naturejab.com. If you want to see for yourself, he built this machine, and it utilizes a microwave oven and some like big metal cylinders for I don't know what. But it looks impressive either way. I mean, if you know engineering, you probably can see it and go, that's not even a real thing. It's just a prop. But that, to me, it looks like it's real, and potentially real anyhow. And I initially saw the video because I was doom scrolling on TikTok, and I came across this guy. He's like, yeah, I'm going to pour this in and going to start this truck up, and hopefully it won't destroy the truck. So he pours it in, and then they wait a second or two, and then all right, turn the key, and it starts up, and it actually kind of sputters a little bit at first, and like, okay, well, this might not work, but then it actually kind of, you know how like when you put gas into a car and it hasn't had gas in a while?
We're trying to start a gas lawnmower that doesn't want to start.
Exactly. So it had been sitting without gasoline in its system for a while at least. And you poured in some gas into the I think the carburetors where they would pour in gas to see if it can get started up without having to pour into the tank. And it sputtered a little bit, but it started and it actually ran. It ran until it used the fuel up, and then it went off again. But I was like, if this is real, if this is really cool, that guy I hope that guy gets himself some security, because oil companies are going to come for him. So.
Well, they may just buy him out,
or they'll buy him. I mean, yeah, they'll probably buy him out. But
I mean, there's still the concern here that it is still, it's burning. We're melting the plastic, we're burning it up into fuel, we're burning the fuel. It's still, the byproducts of this are still not going to be great for the earth. I do think electrical powered vehicles are still more of the direction we need to go.
I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, the byproduct of burning fuel is usually smoke, right? So if you're burning fuel that's based on plastics, I mean, it gets filtered and stuff, so it's basically back to what it was before it became plastic, right? It's back to being an oil byproduct.
Yeah, and it's still gonna pollute just like diesel or gasoline would. But it is a way to do something with all the plastic we have. But really, we need to be reducing our use of plastics because of all the microplastics that are getting into all of us, and getting away from plastic in general. Plastic was a tremendous invention of the 20th century that allowed us to do a lot of crazy things, but it's coming at a cost that we're only just now starting to learn what the biological cost is of it. And ultimately, when it comes to transportation, the the solution really isn't new ways to do personal vehicles. It's having reliable, effective, and universal mass transit. Like, that's really what we need, is to where we don't have to have personal vehicles. That's really what we got to get to. But this is still, I mean, this is definitely weird. It's interesting.
Yeah. Okay, I'm trying to get this thing pulled up. Here we go. I got it. All right. Stupid advertisements on King 5's website. The next story is this happened a day or two after we recorded last. And I was like, oh, shit. There's actually video of a semi-truck carrying 250 million, with an M, million bees crashed in Whatcom County, which I don't know Bees in the car, bees everywhere. God, they're huge and they're sting crazy. Run away, your firearms are useless against them. The thing is what this brings up in my mind, because I'm a little older than Doug, is the killer bee epidemic in the 80s, I think it was, or late 70s, where people are freaked out by these African killer bees. These bees, these bees that came from Africa that are like bigger and more aggressive than the standard bee. But I'm like, can you imagine? I don't know what part of Washington Whatcom is in. I do know that it's a county here in Washington. I think it's down
out on the west coast, like Ocean Shores.
Oh, okay. So all those people down there who didn't have any issues with bees are going to be just inundated with bees now. And
fun fact about the African killer bees, that's kind of a product of Western racism.
Oh yeah.
They aren't actually from Africa. They were imported to Brazil, and they were called Africanized because they're a hybrid between African and European honeybees. But they were actually hybridized for beekeeping. So they're not the name African killer bees just kind of caught on because of colloquial racism in America.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. I always thought it was weird that, like, just randomly we would get a bunch of bees from Africa that are way more aggressive and you know, they sting people, and to stay away from bees and all. That's what I remember as a kid. I mean, I was little when that shit happened. And I remember that being all over the news, and my mom was really concerned about me getting stung by these African bees because, you know,
of course, now we got to worry about the murder hornets.
Yeah, same fucking thing, except for the murder hornets are a different style of bug altogether. They're like these 6-inch long fucking hornets. They're massive. But there's video here of all the bees.
They're having a heck of a time. They're all in bee suits trying to round up the bees.
Rose woke up to 250 million new neighbors Friday morning after a semi overturned near her house, sending honeybees swarming.
I don't want to go down.
You can hear the bees in the video, but they're like attacking the camera.
Yeah.
But just insane. I mean, that amount of bees, and I don't think it's going to really impact the local bee population, but it might. And that was my first thought. Was like, is this going to mess with the local population of bees? Is this going to just have? There's going to be too many bees? Are we going to,
it's a legitimate concern. Like, is this what is going to happen with this?
Yeah.
But right. I guess we'll find out.
Guess we'll find out in the next few weeks. I guess
we're going to find out the hard way.
Right. And then the next story, I thought was really cool, man. These guys, it's a punk band that they released. What was it? They did like a local press, I think, of their album, and they wanted to use Gwyneth Paltrow's vagina-scented candles from her Goop brand.
I was wondering if that's where this was coming from, was from her damn candles. So Australian punk band at Private Function are bringing the smell of the actress's privates to you at a much more economical cost, and you get a soundtrack too. So okay, this is just as equally as funny as the other story that I had.
of there was another story that I replaced with this one because I thought this was better. The other story was people that make the Sasquatch soap. They were taking the bathwater from a specific actress in one of the Avenger movies, I think it was. Either way, some actress in a movie. They took her bathwater that it was in the movie and used that to make their bars of soap. And there's yeah.
I heard recently, or heard earlier today something about Sabrina Carpenter selling her bathwater.
That's what it was. Yep, that's who it was. Yep, that was it. Yeah, and
I didn't realize it was going to the Squatch soap people.
Yeah, and but can you imagine, like? Listening to this punk band and just having your whole room smell like Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah, that's the image here on the article is just a lady dressed as a scientist, like she looks like she's a lab tech, and she's just got her nose right up on this pink vinyl record.
She's wearing a lab coat, and she's got the blue latex gloves on, and she's got a pair of like plastic goggles to keep her eyes safe. In case, the album explodes or something, I don't know.
Yeah, you gotta have eye protection.
Eye protection to keep yourself safe. And then she's wearing, like, underneath the lab coat, she's wearing like a band T-shirt with like a kind of a punk looking like necklace with some things on it. I don't know. I just thought it was funny, and
I wonder how it plays. I wonder how it plays on your record player. Is it? It says scratch and sniff all on it too. So.
That's the big thing is the album was scratch and sniff. Actually, I think it only smells if you scratch the label, or maybe it's the album itself. But either way, having an LP that smells like somebody's vagina in itself, I thought was kind of funny and weird at the same time.
Indeed.
Is that is not the last story. The last story I have here.
No, the last story is the worst story, which is going to make me hold it for the rest of my life.
I think this will keep me from ever using a public restroom anywhere near a river or a lake. This comes from the Mirror, which is a British, I think it's a tabloid.
A totally reputable British publication.
It's a tabloid publication, I think. The photo shows what looks like a python in a toilet, but I think that's Photoshop. That's not what it got. This guy.
Pythons don't bite things off.
No. But the title of this article is "Man Takes a."
It was a python though.
It says man takes a wee and has his penis bitten off by an 11-foot snake in his toilet.
Oh
man. A man was left fighting for his life after suffering severe blood loss when a python bit him on his penis while he was using the toilet. Thai man,
bad snake,
who's Ataporn Boon
Makache.
That's what it says there. He's 38 years old, was attacked by a large snake in the bathroom of his home in the
Chachoengsao province, east of
Bangkok. According to reports, he reached down after feeling a sudden sharp pain, only to find the python's jaws chomped onto the tip of his genitals. Oh my God. In a panic, he called out for his wife and struggled to free himself from the grip of the 11-foot serpent. Before losing consciousness, he managed to tie a rope around the snake's head and secure it to the bathroom door to prevent it from escaping. And there's a photo of it. Oh my God.
Talk about a trouser snake. Oh boy.
Oh my God. That is a python. Holy crap. Okay.
Yeah, nice bloody toilet with a snake coming out. Jesus Christ. I don't ever need to go to Bangkok, that's for sure.
I'm never ever going to anywhere near that part of the world. Ever. I mean, it's bad enough that I don't want to go to Australia because of all the things that want to kill you there, despite their ability to not be able to kill you, but still want to kill you.
Exactly. I guess it could have been worse for this man. At least he wasn't sitting down.
I mean, I think he was. I think he was.
Oh, do you think that's how it went?
I mean, that looks like one of those that you sit on, right?
They just, I guess, yeah, just dangle it. Well, yeah, it's hard to say. I don't want to know more.
I think you would notice if you were standing over a toilet with your dick in your hand and you're urinating into the bowl.
The python coming,
you would see it coming and back the fuck up. I think he was sitting down peeing because I guess that's the way a normal person does it. But I digress, I guess. It says emergency services quickly responded and transported him to the hospital where he was treated for significant blood loss. Footage from the scene shows rescue crews working to extract the python from the toilet's plumbing, even using hammers to dismantle parts of the system. The snake was eventually captured, placed in a secured bag, and later released back into the wild, according to local outlet Bangkok News. I mean, the fact that it happened in Bangkok. Where's that button? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? There it is. Oh, man.
Oh, my.
Indeed. So, yeah, I saw that and it's like, this is the first story I added to the show notes document. And, I was like, I don't think I'm ever going to top this story, ever. So,
no, and I hope we never have to live it.
I absolutely will never, ever, ever go anywhere in Thailand or anywhere near places that have snakes that will do that, so I will never go to Florida ever again.
The worst part about this is I really have to go to the bathroom right now.
And you're like, I'll use the one upstairs.
Yeah, maybe I'll just piss out the window.
I'll just go step out in the backyard and find a quiet.
I got a new pool. You can just go for a swim.
Yeah. Well, unless you have anything else to say, I think that is it for today.
That does it for the show. Remember to like and subscribe if you're on TikTok or YouTube. If you're listening to the podcast, please give us a 5-star review wherever you're listening. Give us a little react, or whatever it might let you do. And we'll keep bringing these to you every Tuesday.
Yes. These will appear on the podcast feed on Tuesday. We record these typically on Sundays, sometimes Mondays. So make sure you are subscribed to both of my TikTok and my YouTube if you want to catch a live, and make sure you
have those notifications turned on so it'll tell you right when we're going live.
Exactly.
It always varies.
Yeah, it hasn't ever been on this at the same time. We try to do the same days, but you never know. Stuff happens.
Hey, we're ADHD over here. We're all over the place.
Yes. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next week.
Bye.